I've had a few people ask me how to do slow maneuvers and how to master slow maneuvers. And there are a few exercises. This one I find really, really good because one of the tricks of mastering slow maneuvers is throttle control. When you take the BRC through total control with your MSF, they spend a little bit of time on it, but you don't really spend enough time on it. How can you practice really easily on the streets? Find a back street or go find an area where you're driving through a lot of stop signs so you can practice this. And you can do this all day and you will master your throttle and your clutch. So we're going to start with the throttle first. And so the trick here is we're going to go and try to get some speed and try to keep the speed between 10 and 12 miles an hour. For a smaller bike, this might be actually easier because of smaller CCs. You might have to give a little more throttle than maybe a bike with, we just parked out in the middle of everywhere, huh? So we want to go, and we're just going to go and try to stay and keep it around 10 miles an hour. Why 10 to 12? Well, you get really good stability at 10 to 12, and you give almost no gas. Most engines that are 40 horsepower and above, you can pretty much chug at 10 miles an hour, and the centrifugal force is going to keep the bike up. Fight the urge to go past that, but try to do these slow rides. Get used to that throttle just being there. I'm just doing this as a box, but we want to do that. Now once we got the speed set at that, you got used to riding at 10 to 12 miles an hour, try to keep the RPMs consistent. So I'm shooting for 1500 RPMs, and I want 1500 RPMs as my steady state. That's the second part that I work on. And I just keep practicing this. I practice it on turns. So if I can do that and keep 1500 RPMs, keep my speed around 10 to 12 miles an hour. I don't want to speed up, I don't want to do anything else. I'm just trying to be consistent in this speed. 10 to 12 miles an hour, 1500 RPMs. 10 to 12 miles an hour, 1500 RPMs. Oh, look at these little poochies. Look at the little poochies. Now we're going to do this down this hill, and then when we're going to start, we'll go to the next exercise, which you can do in any street at any time. That is, once we get here, and we know that we can be at 10 to 12 miles an hour at 15 RPM, now we're going to go sit with our clutch hand and just bring in the clutch till we see those RPMs come up and down. Every time I bring it back out, so my clutch is all the way out, I should be sitting around those 1500 RPMs. Look what ends up happening when I bring it in. My RPMs go up. Get back up, 1500 RPMs, clutch in, clutch out, sit in the middle, clutch in, clutch out, and feel where it catches all the way, because the clutch is all the way out, versus when the clutch is all the way in and it's not doing anything, right? We don't want to do anything with this control. Every time I come back in the full throttle, I should be sitting between 10 to 12 miles an hour, around 1500 RPM. For this bike, obviously RPMs and everything changes depending on your vehicle. But for this Triumph T120, 12 miles an hour first gear, 1500 RPM. Your bike might be 3000 RPM, I don't know. You tell me what it is. But you just find it's about being consistent with the number, not what the number is. Now that we know that we can be at 10 to 12 miles an hour at a consistent RPM, we know that we can bring this in and out. Now try to sit where you're actually never leaving the friction zone. So as soon as it seems like you're getting full disengagement, bring it back just a little bit. Get a little chug. Just get a little chug. There you go. And this is the first step. You master being able to be consistent on this throttle at a speed, and then when you do turns, you will be turning consistently at that speed. I am not speeding up. I am staying consistent at this speed, and that gives me control. I'm not going to freak out. When people first start riding, when they do a turn, they will shift, they won't really know, and they'll doing these jerky things and pulling those throttles back. And that throttle control is everything. And then the other thing is they don't use the refined throttle to be able to control what they need to do. So now they're out riding and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get this control. They're already doing jerks. They're already jerking backwards and forwards. They haven't learned how to be consistent here and how to use this for the refined control. So that does that. And you will be much better off when you do your maneuvers.